Hey guys, if you're watching this video, then chances are you're considering purchasing property here on Kikaker. Well, luckily for you, I'm a realtor with Kikaker Properties and my mom is a lawyer here on the island with Wendy Oxalu Law Firm. And she specializes in land law. I know, could it get any better than this? Probably not. Could you find a better duo? Probably not. In this video, I wanted to put your mind at ease, so I put together a few of the most frequently asked questions that foreigners have when deciding whether or not to purchase property here on the island. We're going to cover everything from the process of purchasing property as a foreigner to steps you can take in order to ensure you're not getting scammed. But before we continue, be sure to subscribe to my channel and turn on that bell notification so you can know the next time I publish a video. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Giselle De La Fuente. I'm the owner of Kikaker Properties here in Kikaker, Belize. I'm a local to Kikaker as well as Orange Walk. And this is my lovely mother, Wendy Oxalu.
Hi.
Can you please give an intro about yourself?
Hi, YouTube peeps, followers of Giselle. My name is Wendy Oxalu and I'm an attorney at law here in Belize. I have an office here in Kikaker and I do a lot of land transactions, I would say, or take on some cases that and matters involving land transactions. And so I have a little bit of expertise in that field. And my daughter Giselle here has asked me to come and answer some of the most popular questions. I don't want to say popular, the most asked questions that she gets.
Yeah,
so this is about that.
In this video, we're going to go over the most frequently asked questions from foreigners looking to purchase property here in Belize. So let's get started.
Let's get started.
Can foreigners own property in Belize?
Foreigners can definitely own property in Belize. We have some quaint rules that we need to follow, but for the most part, we would have to apply for and get permission from our Belize Central Bank in order for foreigner to purchase property. But it's usually just an administrative process. Most people get approved, and with that approval, then we can carry on with doing a transaction just as if you're doing a transaction like a local.
Thank you. What type of properties can foreigners purchase in Belize?
Any property that a local can purchase. There are no restrictions. You can purchase land on the islands, coastal properties, riverfront properties, inland properties, jungle properties, whatever is available in any district, you're able to purchase those properties. You can also purchase residential, commercial, condos, mixed residential and commercial, literally just anything.
Are there any restrictions or limitations on foreign property ownership in Belize?
There are no limitations, but as I stated previously, we would have to get central bank approval for you to be able to purchase property on this in Belize in general. So that's the one stipulation, that the Belize Central Bank must approve these transactions. But other than that, there are no restrictions, no.
What is the process for buying property in Belize as a foreigner?
I don't want to say it's long and complicated, but there is a process. Some of it is similar to what you do in the United States or in foreign countries when you purchase property. And some of it is a little different. We have our own rules here. But for the most part, you would identify the property that you're trying to purchase. And we would, as a law office, as an attorney in our law office, what we would do is verify that the person who's selling the property actually owns the property, and a judgment search to make sure that there are no liens or judgments against the owner of the lodged against the owner of the property or lodged against the property. And even if there are, sometimes these can be released, but we just need to know these things in advance. Then from there, we draft the agreement for sale. Usually the real estate company does that for you, Kikaker Properties, or sometimes we do get some transactions that involve payment of the purchase price in installments, for example. Then in that case, our office usually drafts the agreement for sale, which includes the installment payments, specifies the installment payments, that kind of thing. At the time that a price has been agreed, a selling price or a purchase price has been agreed, at that point, most sensible people, I would say, because some people don't do this, but most sensible people do, hire the services of an attorney. As I said, just to do the title search, but also to act as an impartial middleman in the transaction. We act as escrow agents. So most land transactions require the payment of an earnest money deposit up front, and this is usually 10% of the purchase price. And this is held in escrow until all the paperwork is cleared. That way, someone is not sending money directly to, let's just say, an assumed seller only to find out that the seller wasn't actually really authorized to sell the property or wasn't the owner or registered owner of the property, that kind of thing. In order to avoid all of that, our law office holds the money in escrow, and then once all the paperwork has been cleared to go to closing, we notify the buyer, who then sends the balance of the purchase price, and we draft and execute the transfer of land forms or whatever it is that need to be done. I say whatever it needs that needs to be done because there are different forms of land ownership in Belize. A land certificate, which is the most popular one, is not the only way to hold property in Belize. There are several ways. We have deeds of conveyance, minister's fiat grants, and a couple of others. So ensure that the transfer documents are in order, at which point the transaction can then close. Normally, there's a fee for this service. First of all, let me just say, normally you would have to pay, in addition to the purchase price, there would be fees of an additional, I would say, 10%. 8% of this goes to the government of Belize for payment of stamp duty, and the attorney normally receives 2% as legal fee. This is not set in stone. And I need to clarify that because sometimes we base the 8% stamp duty paid to the government based on the purchase price or the selling price of the property. But this is subject to review at the lands department. And so they may value the property at a higher price, at which point they may ask for additional stamp duty. But mostly a rough estimate or a rough guesstimate is that in addition to the purchase price, you would have to pay 10% additional in costs.
Thank you, Ma.
You're welcome.
How long does the property buying process typically take?
Well, I just described what the process is to close the transaction. Once that has been closed and we have all our paperwork in order and we're satisfied that the title is clear to transfer, we then lodge the transfer of land documents, or I'll just call them transfer of land documents just to be unspecific, but we lodge these at the lands department, and the process to get it from where it's been lodged to for you to get a new title back usually takes about a year. It's a really slow process. Most people think that there's about 20 steps that need to be completed at the lands department in order to complete the land transaction, and most people think that we're the slow ones, but we're not really. It's the lands department.
Don't blame us.
Don't blame us.
Are there any taxes or fees that foreign property owners need to be aware of? We already mentioned these, but let's just repeat.
Yeah, let me just repeat. The stamp duty is paid to the government of Belize, which a foreigner pays. It's 8% of the selling price of the property. Of course, this is subject, as I've mentioned before, this is subject to review by the Lands Department, the Ministry of Lands, the Belize Lands Department. And if they believe that the market value of that property, even if you bought it for a certain purchase price, if they believe the market value of that property is higher than what you paid for it, then they can do an assessment and assess your stamp duty higher. I've never heard of them assessing it lower, so I just want to say that it's only going to go higher, not lower.
What are the rules and regulations regarding property development and construction in Belize?
For the most part, most properties in Belize come with no restrictions. There are no zoning regulations here in Belize. So any property that you buy can be used for commercial or residential purposes, or even a combination of commercial and residential. For example, here in Kikaker, the island where I live, people, for example, would run a business on the first floor of their building, and then on the second floor, that would be their residence. So that's allowed. Multi-use is allowed. As I said, there's no zoning. However, in some subdivisions, and these are private subdivisions that are subdivided by private companies or even private individuals, they may impose restrictive covenants on those. For example, relating to the size of the building that can go on the properties, or whether it can be for residential or commercial use. And then you would have to follow, if those restrictive covenants have been filed at the lands department, then you would pretty much have to follow those. But those are based on the individual developments. But in general, there are no restrictions.
Can foreigners get financing or mortgages for property purchases in Belize?
My daughter asked me not to say just yes or no, give yes or no answers, but for this one, I'd say no.
Okay, got it.
Sorry. It's just very difficult for a foreigner to get a loan here. You don't have any collateral, you don't have any credit history. I would say no.
What are the potential risks or challenges of buying property in Belize?
I've probably named a couple of them. The biggest one being, in any country in the world this happens, that you can get scammed. You want to make sure that the seller is allowed to sell the property you're buying. Here in Belize, there's a program administered by the government of Belize where locals can apply for and purchase government land, and those at times those are leased out to locals, and then these local people try to, for example, sell it to foreigners. And as long as the land belongs to the government of Belize, it cannot be sold to foreigners. So stuff like that, just
That's one example.
that's one example, but there's other things. Namely that you want to make sure that the land is that you're able to sell it, number one, and number two, the person who's selling it is authorized to sell it. The third one I would say is just, I would never anywhere in the world buy a piece of property without actually going there and looking at it first. To buy something sight unseen, that's, I think, would be a little foolhardy. So come on down and come and take a little trip and have a little vacay with your land purchase,
Yes, come enjoy the beautiful island of Keycocker, or anywhere in Belize, as a matter of fact. How can I ensure that the property I'm interested in has a clear title and no legal issues?
Hire a lawyer.
There you go. Simple answer. Keycocker Properties always works with the law firm of Wendy Oxaloo, so this is who I would recommend if you decide to purchase a property with me.
We do all the hard work for you, so you can go to bed assured that your land transaction is going to be completed.
Are there any specific areas or regions in Belize that are recommended for property investment?
I would say all the tourist areas are probably some of the most high-yielding areas, in the sense that the property values appreciate very rapidly in comparison to other areas. But I'll be honest, all of the Belize is a jewel. It doesn't matter where you buy property here. I've never known the property values to go down, to devalue. It always goes up. Some areas faster than the others, so anywhere you buy in Belize is a good buy.
Are there any residency or visa requirements for property owners in Belize?
No.
No.
You could be a foreigner, not even residing in this country, and still purchase property in Belize. Most people foreigners buy property in one of two ways. As I mentioned before, we would need to get a central bank approval for you to purchase property in your name if you're a foreigner. Whether you're resident here or not, we have a lot of absentee landowners that live abroad, that don't live in this country, that still own land. The other way would be to open a company and issue shares and have the company own the property, and then that way when you sell the property, or you could just sell the shares in the property instead of just sell the shares in the company, other than just selling the property itself. Those are two ways.
How is property ownership protected in Belize?
A title issues you, especially a land certificate, gives the person to whom the land certificate is issued absolute title to the land. So you own it, it's freehold, you own it free and clear. You have every right to it, just as any local that owns it. The one issue that I would suggest everyone be careful of is that we do have squatters' rights, what I would say colloquially are squatters' rights laws, or in legal terms, these are called title by prescription. If someone has open and undisturbed possession of your private property, means not with your possession, if they're there adversely, without your permission, and they've been living on your property for 12 or more years, then that person would be entitled to apply for title of your property under the rules of adverse possession, or title by prescription it's called. It's all the same thing. Squatters' rights, title by prescription, title by adverse possession, same thing.
Final question. Are there any local regulations or customs that I should be aware of as a foreign property owner?
I don't know of any right offhand, but each neighborhood has its unique cultural values, and I would just say that if you're purchasing property in Belize, just be mindful of the neighborhood in which you're purchasing, and just kind of try to assimilate and just be respectful of the people in the destinations, in the destinations in which you choose to live.
Thank you so much for answering all these questions, Mom. I really appreciate it. I feel like we both learned a lot, right? So for more real estate information or just more travel videos on Keycocker, San Pedro, and throughout Belize, be sure to subscribe to my channel and stay tuned for the next video. Bye! Be sure to subscribe, turn on that bell. Bye, guys!
Bye, guys!